Picture of this place here. So, let me tell you something. I feel like you're on, when you're in the flow, when you're in the spirit flow, everything seems to just work out. Everything's flowing easy, everything's smooth. Yeah, you might have some stuff that's that has to be done. You might have to take care of some business. Like get your oil changed or inspection or whatever. But I'm telling you, so today, here's what happened today. I had to go get 2 envelopes up here, and this is not where I usually go to the post office. But this post office is near where I work, and also there's hardly ever anybody in there. So I said, let me try that, and they close at 4:30. So I went by there and I got my envelopes. And on the way, I saw this new business, and I thought, it says we do inspections. I thought, well, you know what? Let me go talk to them, because my inspection's due next month. And they were just sitting down at the table, just chilling. I asked him how much it was. He said $30. I said, you know what? If y'all can do it, I'll do it now. He said, yeah, let's do it. And so I got it done. And it was like from 4 to 4:36, I got my post office stuff done and my inspection done. And normally it's a stressful thing. You got to do this, you got to do this before a certain time. But I'm just saying, if you're thinking about it and you're planning ahead, and you know what you got to do, it's in the forefront of your mind, things just appear. And so what I've been practicing lately, if it's something that is like a semi-frustration or whatever, I don't even necessarily plan on doing whatever it is I need to do today, that day, but I'll go over there and talk to the people. I'll get a feel for the environment, a feel for the people, the environment, I'll just get a feel for it. I'll walk in, ask them some questions, and say, okay, I'll be back tomorrow or next week or whatever. And planting the seed. And usually it works out like really smooth. If you're not stressed to get it done right now, and you just start planting the seed, it does. Sometimes it happens instantaneously, but a lot of times it just makes it more smooth. I'm not explaining it too well, but I'm saying, think about it. So you're sitting here thinking, I got to get my car inspected, I got to get this, I got to do this and get this done. They expect you to do a lot of craziness, But if it's in the forefront of your mind, you got to do it before it arrives, before the due date arrives. Start looking out for the situations. And then what happens is when you set it in your mind before the due date, before something, you start to see it's almost like a script. It's almost like heaven on. Things just start working. Here's what I'm saying. So you got to get something done, right? And you have a pre-thought or a pre-goal or pre-mind or forefront of your mind or whatever. And you start to say, okay, that needs to be done. What you see, the cogs of the universe start to fall in place. And these 2 or 3 things that you need to be done can happen at the same time, because then you're giving the universe time to work it out. This is something I was revealed yesterday. It might have been today. I think it was yesterday. I write this stuff down when it's a big revelation, you know. So here's what's happening. So there's a story out here. Let's say you're planning a trip to go somewhere or whatever. Well, it's out of the norm. It's not your normal thing that you do. Let's say it's something that's not your normal thing. It only happens once a year or once every 2 years or whatever. So it's out of the pattern. There's a pattern being sown. The space-time is pattern. The cycles, the pattern, the fabric of space-time is being sown every day that you live. So you're wanting to diverge off that pattern and do something, but to make it more smooth, instead of just cutting it off, you set it in your mind and you start to work towards it, and you give the storyline enough time to coalesce to where it works itself out smooth. In other words, what I'm saying is this. The story is being repeated every day. The story in front of you is the same story of the cross. Now, when you try to change your patterns, the universe has to give you that story. In other words, in my mind, I'm going right here. Let's just say I change my pattern. I want to stop and go right here. It's an abrupt stop. Stopping the flow. But if I know I'm going to turn left up here, I put the turn signal, I slow down, I think about it. But if I abruptly stop, it affects the flow, right? But let's say I want to turn right here, and I turn the signal on, I get in the other lane, the flow of traffic's still going. So that's the way it is spiritually. You're in a flow. So when you put let's say you're getting in a bathtub of hot water. You put your foot in, your toe or foot or whatever you do, in the hot water and test the waters first. And you slowly go in. See this? What's going on there? So what's happening is, in life, you're sewing the fabric of space-time, and the universe has to have enough time to smoothly give you that story and work things out smoothly. Now, God is God. He can make it smooth any time, but I'm saying it's like a machine or a program. It's a program. The story of the cross is not just right there, but it's right there on this car, it's right on this street, it's right on that sign. That story of the cross is everywhere. And so that story is playing out in your heart, your mind, your job, your home, your life. It's playing out. And so for that story, and it's got to be smooth. God is not a God of, he's not in a hurry, right? God has already written it down. It's going to work out. So when you're trying to change the script in a hurry, or you're trying to do something different in a hurry, or you're waiting to the last minute, you're going to have a flow stop. See this? See how the flow has stopped right here? If everybody would just move slow across the line and then let each other through, it wouldn't be that bad. A lot of it has to do with the stoplight right now. But anyway, my point is, you just flow, and you pre-think it before it happens, before it appears, and you create a flow. You create the flow. And so the storyline is like a cog in a machine. So if you have a machine that's pushing out product, you put the seed in the hopper, and that screw thing's let's say it's plastic. You put the plastic in the hopper and it heats up, and that thing's turning. The screw is turning and pushing out the product into a mold, right? That's the deal, people. It's the same thing. The same thing. The universe works the same way as the machines, the woman having a baby, everything. The farmers, the Coca-Cola machine. When you look at a Coca-Cola machine, you put the quarter in first. You put the quarters in first, right? You don't just hit the button. You put the there's a process. So you put the quarters in first, and the machine is ready to, and you hit the button, and it starts to turn. You know. On that recent movie, what was the Blue Shirt Guy movie? She said he found the button. You know, what does that mean? He found the button. There's not a button for that. He found the button. There's a process. There's a process in everything. There's a process in love. There's a process in marriage. There's a process in business. There's a process in everything. And what I'm finding is, here's my point. If you know you got to do something next month, you got to get your car inspected. Think about it. Mull it over in your mind a little bit. Think about different places or whatever. And just hold it there for 7 seconds or whatever, or just have it in the forefront of your mind for a while. And there's something else you got to do. And sure enough, those two storylines will intersect. And while you're getting your postal stuff done, you can get your car inspection stuff done. I'm telling you, and it just flows. It's in the flow. It just flows like water. It flows. But if everything that you do is crisis oriented, crisis is crisis, cry the body of Christ, you're crying all the time. Everything's a crisis. Instead of being proactive, you're just being responsive to a crisis. But if you're not in a crisis mindset, you're in a planning mindset, setting the pattern, setting the seed. Instead of being in a crisis mindset, things start to flow. Yeah, there's always going to be a crisis. There's always going to be a crisis, and that's why you're going to cry. That's why you're going to cry, sis. You got to be proactive and not responsive. In other words, yes, you respond to situations, but you have to plan in advance, or you have to at least think about it and be ready. Know what you've got to do a month ahead of time if you can, or 6 months or a year, and not just be like everything's a drama, instantaneous drama. It don't have to be that way, because the cogs will turn and line everything up for you, for real. Everything's going to line up if you prepare, if you plant the seed, if you water the seed. So you put the seed in the ground, your thoughts, and you water the seed. The place where I used to get tires, okay. They shut down, so I said, okay, I gotta figure out a new place to get tires. And then sure enough, this place sells tires. I'll probably order a Mola and take him up there and see if he's willing to do it. But so here's what I'm saying. So the cogs of the universe are the story of Christ. So the story has to have time to line up. It has to have time because the universe is not in a hurry. And so if you plan ahead, it's not like boom, 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 boom. It don't have to be a crisis all the time. And I know for a fact, I've talked to enough people, I lived long enough, and I was raised around the unsaved. I know what I'm talking about. Most people live in crisis mindset. And I've seen managers, it's always a crisis. You're managing a business, but everything's a crisis? What's that about? Don't make sense. They don't know how to manage. And so again, the story's playing out, but you got to give the universe enough time to let the story develop and let all the pieces fit together. Just like that signal, I got 35 miles to empty. It's telling me, it's giving me 35 miles to make a decision to put gas in. It's not waiting until 5 miles or 1 mile. You're out of gas, you got 1 mile. No, it's giving me a notice 35 miles. That's the way you got to think. And by doing that, you're giving the universe time to play the story of the cross out. Because if you wait till the last minute, you're messing up you're going against how the universe works, because it's a slow turning machine. The cogs of the universe turn, but they turn slow. And if you try to outdo, yeah, you can run a race sometimes and win, but eventually you get tired out. If you try to outdo it, there's a lot of resistance, you know. I know when I was remodeling recently, it about killed me, because instead of doing it a little piece at a time, I tried to do it all at once. It about killed me. It took me a week to recuperate. I drilled my hand, cut my hand. I actually drilled my finger accidentally. And there was a piece of metal in there. It took about a week for it to come out. It's wild stuff. So what I'm learning is be proactive, not crisis oriented. It don't have to be a crisis. The reason people live in a crisis is because of the identity issue. They don't have their identity. They're not whole. They're impartiality, so they're not planning and they're not thinking ahead. Yes, everybody's going to have a crisis every once in a while, but you got to be proactive, not reactive. Can you plan for everything? No, but the basic stuff you can. When something comes up, meditate on it, contemplate it, think about it. Cut your music off, cut your TV off, and just think about the issue, and don't panic and don't go crazy. There's always a way. There's always a way. God always makes a way of escape. Might not be like you like it. You might have to go buy your bicycle at Walmart, take an Uber to Walmart and buy your bicycle and ride it to work for a little while. But there's always a way out if you look for it. And it might not be comfortable. There is a way out. And most of the time, the way out that you find uncomfortable, it wakes you up to say, oh, I was too comfortable. I was in my comfort zone too much, you know? And that's my whole point. So long story short, I'm going to say it in one sentence. The cogs of the universe turn slow. And if you want everything to be smooth, you cog it out in your mind before it happens. And you're giving the universe time to reflect back what you need to be done, what you need and what needs to be done. And the universe will reflect it back in a smooth transition. Because it has to show the story of the cross.